We all do it, but why? That is comparing ourselves to other people. And there's actually a new comparison that we've only started doing in the last 20 years, and studies have found it's one of the worst comparisons you could ever do. I'm going to get to that at the end of this video, and it's going to hopefully make your life a lot better. But before I get there, let's get to one of the most important comparisons of all, and one of the most objective. That's money. We all go out and earn it. We all save it. Many people invest it. Other people willfully spend it. But where do you stand on your net worth compared to your peers? Well, in this video, I'm going to cover that in some detail up here. I'll say it's objective. Now, a subjective one would be that I could say I've got a much nicer haircut than this fella here. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's subjective. That depends. For example, if your partner lost both of you in a crowd, she'd find him much quicker than she'd find you. But I'd say that's subjective as well, because I might not want to be found as quickly as that. I might be having a lot of fun. You know what I mean? Money, though, is objective. It's a set number, and it's made up of liabilities and assets. So let me give you an example of that. If you've got a house, that's an asset. Let's say that house is worth £100,000, but you've got a mortgage on that house where you still owe £50,000. Well, actually, your liability minus your asset means that your net worth on that little part of your life is actually £50,000. I'm going to be covering a few more examples here because it's really important to get into this and understand this based on the numbers you're about to see, because some of these are pretty frightening, to be honest. But the reason why I'm making this video is actually I made a video a couple of weeks ago about the 4% rule that was generally enjoyed by many of you, but there was a comment from a guy called Dave. And Dave, sorry if I upset you in that video, but his comments said those numbers worry me. The overwhelming majority of people won't get anywhere near having a £500,000 pension pot, let alone £1 million. Now, I should have been clearer in that video. What I did in there was to articulate the 4% rule, which incidentally, I've got to say, other people said in the comments, I hate the 4% rule. I do as well. I'm taking you on a journey through videos, starting with the basics. This is a 4% rule and going into some really quite unusual drawdown strategies that take you way beyond the 4% rule. So I've got your back on that. But in that video, I spoke about a nominal 1 million. I actually said in that video, convert it into your currency. So it could be £1 million, $1 million, or 1 million Thai baht. It was just a number that was an easy number for me to do the calculations based off the back of that. So Dave, sincerely sorry if I did disparage you with those numbers. And the question is, how much do you need to retire? Do you need £1 million or $1 million or 1 million Thai baht? Well, I can't answer that, but if you go back to that video, and I'll link to it at the end of this, then that gives you the building blocks to work out for yourself how much you would need to retire. So for this video, I've done a lot of research. I've dug into a lot of numbers, and I'll just put at the bottom of the screen now the kind of organisations that I've used. And I've looked specifically at the areas that watch our videos, and that's people from the UK, from the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand as well, but not so many, so I've not included those numbers. I'm going to be talking in pounds sterling for this video. If you're already on our email list, then I'll be sending out these tables to you about a day after this video is released. If you're not on our email list, don't worry, got you covered. If you look at the description below this video, then there's something you can click where you give us your email address and I'll send you all these numbers by return via email. The numbers that I gathered demonstrated them through mean and median averages. So I just need to quickly cover off what the two different types of averages are that it uses. So first of all, mean, that adds up numbers and then divides by the total number. So for example, if you've got the numbers 10, 10, 10, 10, and 10, 5 numbers of 10, if you divide that by how many there were, 5, the answer is 10. It's an average. It's what you and I would expect an average to be. Median, however, is very different. And this is an average that we don't tend to use much. It's one where I know in the past I've looked at it and thought, I don't know, a situation where I would use that. But let me give you an example. So the median would be, let's say we've got 9 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. The median is the middle number. The middle number is the number 5. So in this example, the median is 5. So let's get into a couple of real world examples on why these different types of averages are important to understand and when they can be used and when they shouldn't be used. So first of all, if we look at the mean of incomes, let's say you've got 10 people working for a company and the first one earns 30k, second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so all of these people earn 30,000. And your 10th person earns £200,000 a year, okay? He's the boss. Well, if you were looking at this from a mean perspective, you would say that the average income of this group of people is 47,000. Now try telling that to these 9 people that they are earning the average income of 47,000. They're not going to be that impressed. So now an example of median of 9 people, what they earn per month. Now you're not have to watch me write all these up. I'll fast forward. So of these 9 salaries from 3,000 a month up to 4.2 a month, well, the median of that is the middle one. There are 9 of these, the middle one is this. So you would say the median income is 3.7 thousand. Oh, hang on, news just in. This fella's just been fired. Bad news, bad news. He's been fired, but I think it's good news for the company because we have actually employed in his place Elon Musk, and he earned last year 7.8 billion per month. Now, if we were doing a mean of this, then you would think these people would be a bit miffed because this guy's going to really push the numbers up. But the median stays the same. That's this one. Of those 9 employees, he is an outlier. And the good thing about doing a median is it can kind of mask the outliers and show you that still the kind of average is 3.7. I hope that makes some sense because going into these numbers, it's going to be useful to know this stuff. Remember, if you want these numbers, no need to write them down. If you look in the description below, you can see how you can get hold of these for yourself. I'm going to be doing this in British pounds for this, but remember I've got this in British pounds, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar and US dollar. Let's find out whether you're on track or whether you're behind. And if you are behind, the videos coming up after this in the series, we'll be delving into this in more detail. So that will enable you to, if you are behind, get yourself on track. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel, make sure you do it now. Ring the bell so you know when we're releasing more of these videos. And in fact, in the next video, we got Sarah. She's playing a bit of a cameo part. Should be a bit of comedy, to be honest. So it's worth subscribing to see what that one's going to be all about. So we're going to be looking at this in different age groups, and that being from people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, plus, because we're not sure how much time you got left at that point. But, you know, let's not get disparaged about things like that. And I'm going to talk about the mean first of all. So remember, the mean is where you add together all of the numbers and divide by how many. This is going to be a little bit worrying, a little bit concerning for many of you watching this video. But remember, you've got those Elon Musks out there who, when you look at his net worth, that's included in the mean with everybody. But let's go through the means for the UK. So someone in their 30s in the UK have a mean average net worth of £60,000. Right, this is worrying. When I was in my 30s, I didn't have 60k. I had probably minus 30k, and that's not including the mortgage that I had on my property, which, yeah, it was pretty depressing, to be honest. I wasn't in a great position financially in my 30s, and I would know about these numbers, and it used to really worry me because I thought, not only am I behind, but I don't think I'll ever get back to where I want to be. If you don't know who I am or who Sarah is on To Go Rome, it's your first time here, just so you know, Sarah and I retired early. I was 51, I think she was 49. So if you are looking at this thinking, I'm nowhere near that in my 30s, don't panic. I can almost guarantee we were worse off than you were. So in your 40s, the average mean is a mere, in your 40s, is a mere 213,000. Yeah, anyone fallen off their chair? I could do, because this one's a bit unstable, but it gets better. Fear not. In your 50s, the average is 420k. And then in your 60s, 540. In your 70s, 456. Oops. And then 80 plus 404. You got to wonder, these people in their 80s, what are they doing all that money? What are they going to spend it on? But this is horrific, am I right? It's terrifying. And this is for an individual, by the way. I'm going to come on to couples in a minute because things get a bit better for couples, I've got to say. But this is the mean. This is where you add them all together, all those Elon Musks of the world that push these numbers up in there to give you these numbers. Let's look at the median. So the median is, you look at all the numbers and then you get the middle one. And you might be thinking, how have you managed to do that? I've not done it. In the UK, it's the Office of National Statistics that have done this for me. But the median of someone in their 30s is 14k. Right, you can relax a little bit now. Now, there's somebody I know in their 20s, I think she's about 25. She's got substantially more than that. And if you are watching this and you're feeling disparaged, and you can think, well, it's all right for her, you know, she's probably got a silver spoon in her mouth. Just tell you about that person. That person has got 3 jobs. She's 25 years old. She's got a day job. She works in a fish and chip shop, and she works pulling pints as well. And she didn't go to university, didn't stay on at school. She got out there and worked. And she's doing better than that. She's not the mean because she hasn't got a silver spoon in her mouth. But if you are feeling like, well, it's all right for them, you do have the opportunity to go out and get a second job or change things for yourself. I know that's a bit of tough talking, but I do get a little bit concerned when I read people in the comments saying things, not Dave, you're cool, but other people saying that this is only for the super rich to do this kind of thing. No, she's far from super rich. She's super bright and she knows how to work hard. So people in their 40s, the median in the 40s is 44k. So this will be, you're now saving into your pension pot and you just got yourself up and running there. You've got some, in the UK, ISAs, which is a good tax wrapper for putting money into there. A lot of people are just saving money, not necessarily investing in their 40s, we find. And you've got your house and you've had the house maybe for 5 years and you've paid off some of the mortgage. I know for young people now, getting a house is a big problem all around the world. House prices have become ridiculously high. But people in their 40s generally will now have their own place and have paid something off. So 44,000. Then in their 50s, the median is 78k. So now in your 50s, you're starting to think about retirement. Now, that word is starting to enter your vernacular. Before your 50s, for me specifically, I found that people didn't really think about retirement. It was something that was an obscure thing that old people did. You hit 50, if you've been there, you know. It's like, bits of stopping working, and I need to be thinking about slowing down a bit. And if the median is 78,000, and if you've got that or more than that, well done. In your 50s, you're ahead of the game. Are you where you need to be? Look back at the last video, but also look forward at the videos we've got to come, because things are going to be better than maybe you think they are. So in your 60s, the median is 125k. In your 70s, it's 107k. And in your 80s, it is 100k. So the nice thing is people in their 80s, they're realising they've got to spend that money down. So that's where you're going into retirement and you're starting to realise the fruits of your labour. You're building the money and then you're starting to spend it down. So that's the details for individuals. Let us know in the comments, what do you think of this? Are you worried at what you see, or are you thinking, yeah, I'm doing all right? Question though, something for other people, if you don't want to say that in the comments, is if, let's say, you are in your 50s here and you are on track, you're the median to be the same as everybody else, do you think you're on track for an early retirement? Big question for a lot of people is, how much do I need to retire? Let's see what people have got to say in the comments about that. So now, couples. Couples have got life a little bit easier because basically you're a team. You're working together towards saving for your future. These numbers look a lot rounder, and I think it probably means that it's more difficult to gather this kind of data. Again, I've got all the couple data for the US, Australia and Canada in here as well, for both the mean and the median. So make sure you look in the description below to get that download, won't you? So let's look at the mean. This is the one which is a bit depressing often. People in their 30s, their mean is 100k. Wow, 100k in your 30s. If you are at that point, massive congratulations from me, because you are on track. I read something in a forum recently online where somebody was in their 30s and talking about how they felt so behind on getting ready to retire, and is it too late for them? And they had more than 100k. It's very easy for all of us to think that we're falling behind and to feel that people around us are doing so much better than us because they're driving BMWs and Mercedes. And there is a thing that wealth doesn't necessarily display itself. People who are rich display it, and that is people who are trying to look wealthy will buy things and big houses to impress others. A lot of the real wealthy people out there are doing things clever so that they can have this kind of money. So if you do have that at the age of 30 or in your 30s, big congratulations. In your 40s, the mean 300k. That's serious money. In your 50s, 600k. In your 60s, it is 900. In your 70s, 800. And in your 80s, 700. It looks like people in their 70s are going, whoa, and 80s, let's spend this money quick. Let's get it spent down before it's too late. Now the median. This is the bit that's a bit more realistic. So people in their 30s, 30k. I spoke about someone I know in their mid-20s, and when she's in her 30s, she'll be there or way beyond that if she is clever. And she is. 90k in the 40s, 180k in their 50s, 250 in their 60s, 230 in their 70s, and 210 in their 80s and beyond. So this again feels more realistic, and coming back to Dave, who I spoke about earlier, where he said most people won't get to 500,000. Well, correct. You are absolutely right. Does come back to the question, how much money do you need to retire? So it's one thing to be ahead or behind, but another thing is whether you've got enough. We're going to get into that in future videos. I don't think I've ever said so frequently, subscribe. But the reason why I'm telling you to do that is because we've got real stuff to share on this to get you moving in the right direction if you're not there at the moment. And Sarah is going to be working with me on these videos as well. It's not just going to be me, but I've even gone out and bought a whiteboard because I really want to go into detail on this stuff and share it for you. Just let me know that in the comments. Is this kind of video useful, or do you prefer the ones where I'm out and about talking as I'm walking down the street, or do you like both? Just let me know. That's cool. So I mentioned at the outset that there's another comparison that's only started in the last 20 years, and that comes from social media. Yeah, doom scrolling. And in the olden days, before social media, the only kind of comparison we used to do other than financial stuff would be we would compare up and we compare down. Humans are kind of trained, inbuilt, to compare up, to give them a sense of motivation. You see someone who's doing better than you, what is it about that person? What is it they're doing? What can I do to get where they are? So that motivates you upwards. And we compare downwards so that you can look at things and say, well, I could be much worse off. You know, if you're watching this video and you could be doing exactly that. You're in your 30s and you got 100k, and you go, well, the median is 30k, so I feel much better because a lot of people are worse off than me. That's the kind of thing we used to do, and we still do, but you compare upwards for motivation, downwards to improve self-esteem. But with social media, everyone is doing the same thing, and that's scrolling through, and it's only making you feel inferior. And that is because people are sharing on Facebook, on Instagram and X and TikTok their very best life. They're sharing with you the best things that they're doing. And it's one of the issues that we've had with our travels, because what we've never wanted to do on our YouTube channel is to say, hey, look at us, don't we have an amazing life? Because we don't. We have a very mundane life, traveling the world in the same way that everybody has a mundane life, but they have exciting moments. We never used to share the mundanity of our life and of our travels because we thought we'd be interested in that. But we've set up our second channel, To Go Rome Travels. Again, that's linked below if you're interested. And the idea of that now is we're cutting away all of the things that might look like we've got an amazing life and just share what it's truly like to travel the world full time as we do. Because it may be something that you aspire to do, and we're just going to give you the reality of it and almost a stream of consciousness. So don't doom scroll. If there's one thing that I can do that you can take from this video, if not this, then to learn that by spending extensive time on social media is going to ruin your self-esteem. Build your self-esteem by learning how to improve yourself so you can get yourself in the right area so you can retire early, get yourself a pina colada, sit on a beach, stick it on Instagram and say, look at me, and then let everybody else doom scroll you. And for the oldies out there, there was a time before internet, and when I was a kid, there was a program that I used to watch called Why Don't You? And their slogan was, why don't you just switch off your television set and go out and do something less boring instead? If only kids today could learn the same thing. I want you to do the same thing. Switch off your television set, go and do something less boring instead after you've watched this video here, because I think you're going to love this, and I think YouTube thinks you will do too. You've been watching To Go Rome. Our dream is world travel. What's yours?